Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you doing on this Tuesday morning? I think it's Tuesday, pretty sure. But this is Paint with Lovejoy, and just doing a quick refresher on my screen to make sure it's coming up for you guys at home. There we go. So, like I said, this is Paint with Lovejoy, and this is our daily demo. This is a viewer request for a cute, colorful elephant and a little bit of what you're looking at. Two things. The back of my canvas, you can see there's a lot of texture on here. I have repurposed or reused a canvas, and there is a link in the description box below on how to re-gesso or reuse a canvas. And for my beginner painters, it's a nice way that you can just kind of keep on painting without purchasing tons of canvases. The other thing that you see on here is what I call, your outline. And then I also provide a traceable. And the traceable is for my first time painters. At the end of this video, I'll upload it to the website. There's a link in the description box below. You can purchase it, download it, and then use carbon paper to transfer this to your canvas. And for first time painters, that's really good. If you are inclined, and I highly encourage that you just pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video with the painting part with that. So two options for getting your design on there. So what we're going to do today, I will be using brushwork, and we've got a huge variety of colors today. I did forget to put black on there, so I might do that at the end. We are going to have a really colorful elephant here with our yellows, oranges, and reds. So he'll be really nice, warm colors. And then the background, I'm going to have light blue fading out to dark blue. And then we'll give him a little bit of a grass to sit on. And then I'll do primary colors for each of the balloons. So go ahead and jumping right in. I'm going to move this so I can see the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to just leave a comment in the chat and I will address those as I paint. All right. Hi, Anita. Welcome back from London. So appreciate your support. All right. So we are going to start with the background first. And I'm going to use the small flat brush. If you're on a bigger canvas, you can use the larger brush. And we're going to go really, really light next to the elephant and then get darker as we move out towards the edges of the canvas. So I'm going to start with the light color first. So pulling a little bit of white aside, tiny amount of blue goes a long way to make your really light color. And these are good habits to get into when you're mixing your paint. Kind of always start light and then you can always add more pigment to it. All right, so making a pretty good blob of white. And I am going to be starting right next to my elephant. And basically, I'm just going to be blobbing it on there. And then we'll go to the next darker color, blob it on there, and then we'll blend that transition line just a touch. So I do encourage, if you're using student grade paint, to apply your paint a little bit thicker, so that way it will make our blending a little bit easier. If you're using artist grade paint, it's already pretty thick, so you can just apply it kind of normally. And if you're using acrylic, watercolors or crayons or markers, just follow along and adjust a little bit as you might need to for your chosen medium. But I do encourage you to use whatever you have at home. Any supplies, like you don't have to have the best supplies in the world, you just have to go through the process of creating. And as you can see here, I am going right over those balloon lines. We will reapply it at the end of the painting. And no matter what you paint with acrylic paint, if you paint something that you don't like or you go over an area like I just did here, don't stress. You just let your paint dry and you can put another layer on top of it. So acrylic paint is a very forgiving medium, and that's why I generally recommend it to my first time beginner painters. So now we're going to make a little bit darker blue. So that same mixture, I'm just adding more blue to it. And you want to go about 2 shades darker than you were just using. So if your blue or your color is a little darker or lighter than mine, that's okay. I just want you to go a few shades darker than what you were using at home. So with our darker shade, and I am grabbing quite a bit of paint, we're going right on the corner of it, or the edge of that color. And I am kind of applying it kind of thick. Then you can wipe that brush off, and while both colors are still wet, use light pressure and you can kind of blend the two together. You may need to every now and then wipe that brush off because that darker color is going to be more overpowering than the other color. So if you need to, you can go back to that first lighter blue color, and especially if your paint does dry out kind of quick and you're trying to do your blending, go back to that lighter color, throw it on there, and then start blending that into the darker blue. So you've got a few options, and each one of you is going to find a different blending method that works for you. This method on this side right here that I'm doing is kind of pushing and smearing. Another blending method that you can try, and very stress relieving, I call the stabbing method. And literally you're just kind of pushing those bristles into it. It's kind of a pointillism, scumbling effect. But what it's doing is by pushing that in there, it's picking up that lighter color and the darker color and kind of mixing them together. So try both blending styles, and whichever one you feel a little more comfortable with, stick with that one. All right. And because I am painting on a re-gessoed surface, reused canvas, my paint actually dries a lot faster on this compared to a fresh canvas. So I will be painting and continuing this kind of quick so I can do the blending. Now, if you're making your color and you need to make it a second or third time, don't stress about the exact same shade. A little variety in your composition is only to your benefit. And then when you do the blending, you can kind of smooth out anything that you might need. And for the balloons, I am going right on top of those pencil lines, or marker lines on my case, but you do want to bring your color right up next to that. So by the time this dries and we go back and put the balloons in there, it's going to be completely solid and easy to just lay that new color on top of. All right, so now I'm going to make another shade a little bit darker. And you may have to play with this a little bit. You may make the color on here, and then when you apply it, you go, oh, it needs to be a little bit darker. So don't be afraid to adjust even after you've made the color. That is kind of part of the painting process. And then again, I'm just kind of slapping it on there. Anything that's frustrated you or pissed you off this week, take it out on your painting. The canvases are pretty tough, and you will feel better afterwards. So just slap all your emotions into it. Anything that you're going through, and we're all going through lots of stuff right now, throw it into your painting. All right, so again, I've got my darker and then the lighter color. So wiping that brush off. And because my paint is drying kind of quick, I'm going to go back and grab some of that lighter color to put on there so I can blend it into it. And I'll go over the other blending method again on the other style. And if you've got a lot of movement and texture in your canvas, that's actually a good thing. So don't feel like you have to go super flat or super smooth or even fully blended. Everything that is created is a unique style. All right. Yes. Hi, Jen. How's it going? This would be awesome for a nursery. Also, I was thinking that if you did this on watercolor paper, leaving that white background and then just focusing on the colors of the elephant and the balloons. So always, always many options. So again, going a little bit darker. Now I'm almost into just that direct blue. And I'm going to use this color to fill in the remaining space on my canvas. And at home, if you are painting on a stretched canvas like this, carry that color over the tops, the side, and the bottom. That way it just looks extra nice when you hang it on the wall, having that color wrap around the edge. All right, so oops, let me make a little bit more here, this corner. And again, because my paint is drying out a lot faster than normal, because I am on a re-gessoed surface, I'm literally just slapping this on here pretty quick. Don't feel like you have to keep the same pace that I do. There we go. And then again, if you even want to kind of come back in with different colors, if you want to come back into your light and kind of blend it out, go right ahead, but do everything that you want to your background now before you move into doing your other elements. Because you can only do the blending while both sets of paint are wet, the new color and the color you're introducing. All right, so I'm actually going to go back to a little bit of that lighter color just to pull it out and soften some of the lines. And using a little bit of that paint that's still on my brush, and it's actually too dark. Just gonna grab that straight white, a little bit of blue. There we go. And again, if you have to kind of go back and readjust your first color and it changes a little bit, that's okay. That's just part of the painting process for today. One of my favorite Bob Ross quotes is just happy accidents. So whatever you end up creating, work with it, embrace it. It's more about the process of painting and the fact that you're taking time out of your day, hanging out with me, but actually painting. So it is more important about the process. Okay, and actually I want to go just a touch darker on the edges, so taking that direct blue. It's not too much darker, just a little bit. And I do kind of like this radio composition because with the darker edges and then the lighter towards your subject matter, it just draws your eye in even more towards the cute little elephant. Nice. Hi, Darshell. Thanks for joining us. Glad you liked the video. And yeah, with the thumbs up, it made me remind, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to my channel so that way you can be notified of all the new videos I'll release. And then also check out my online school, paintwithlovejoy.com. I do have quite a few first-time and beginner painter bundles on there. I have some more in-depth classes, my monthly classes, Paint Your Pet and Intro to Knife Painting. And I am editing so many more classes, so just be on the lookout for more and more. All right, so once you've got your background to where you like, if you are taking progress photos, take a progress picture. We're going to give this elephant some grass to hang out on, and then we'll move into the colors of the elephant, and likely I'll move down to the small pointy brush when we get into that area. So for the grass, your call. You can use the straight green, green and yellow, or if you want to go darker than that green, you can actually mix green and blue. So I'm going to do kind of the spring green. So I'm starting with yellow, adding a little bit of green to it. And just like mixing the blue, start with a small amount of green, and you can always go a little bit darker. And just kind of play with what you like. And again, my green, compared to all my other student grade paints, the green is on the more transparent side, so don't be afraid to apply it thicker if you need to. And then again, wrap that color around the edge. All right. And again, if you want to go right over those black outlines, I may or may not outline this. I haven't decided yet. I'll wait till the end. But even if I choose to outline this, I don't know, I doubt I'll do it in the video just because I want it to dry before I do the outline. It makes it so much easier. So the thumbnail would have it on there. But if you're choosing to do the outline, you want a thick enough of a black outline that you overlap the background a little bit and your subject matter. So maybe I'll do the small balloons in that method just to show you. Oh yeah, I agree. It would be cute as a baby shower card. It'd be awesome. And if you even didn't want to do the balloons, you could do like a little spray of water, or I thought about almost a little butterfly coming down to touch on the trunk of the elephant, but ended up deciding on balloons. All right, so while you've got your green on there, again, we're going to do a few little highlights. So I'm grabbing that direct yellow, slapping it on there. I'm not going to go underneath the elephant because we're going to have a little bit of a shadow. So kind of right in front of the element. And then with light pressure, just kind of play with moving that yellow into that base green paint. And you do want to kind of keep light pressure for that. And just putting a little bit on the other side. Our main highlight is going to be in front of the elephant. So for good practice, let's grab some of that direct green. And if you did use the green by itself, do this with blue. And we're basically kind of giving a shadow that this elephant, where he's sitting. And then I'm just going to kind of take that and this works better. There we go. The little stabbing method. And then at the end of the video, if you want little blades of grass, maybe I'll add a few of those. Okay. So as we move into our elephant, I will move down to this brush, and let's see, we're going to start with the darker colors. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of purple, and we have some dark shadow underneath kind of the arm, a little bit where his belly would meet, and kind of in behind a few areas. Yeah, I think that will be best. I was debating whether I should just do a solid base color and then put the other ones in there. So I don't want to quite use the purple just straight by itself. So I'm going to mix it with a little bit of red, because again, we're going for kind of a cool background and a warm elephant. So the warm is the yellow, orange, and red colors, and then the cools are the blues, purples, and greens in our background. All right, so as we do this, I want you to just focus on the place where I put these colors. You don't have to be exactly, but just focus on where I'm putting them and then mimic that to the best of your ability. Like I said, this does not have to be perfect. And I'm going to move kind of quick through this because I want the paint to still be kind of wet when I go to the next color and blend, kind of like the background. And we're also focusing on, these are all the shadow spaces. So when you paint something, you are looking at the value scale, and we're looking at shadows, highlights, and midtones. All right, so very quickly, just cleaning that brush, I'm gonna grab some of the red, go a little bit on top of that, not much. And again, we're not adding a whole lot. Okay, now we're gonna move into the orange, and then orange yellow will be our main color. All right, so just the straight orange now. If this orange is too bright, our next step will be orange and yellow, so you can use more of that if you like. And even what I'm doing right now, if you don't like any of these colors and you want to do something different, go for it. And you can just kind of pick your colors and swap out for the ones that I'm using. Basically just have fun. And no matter what you paint today, whether you change the colors or paint what I'm painting, please email me photos of what you paint. Email them to paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. All right, yep. And I think as I'm doing this, we will definitely be doing those black outlines at the end. And this is drying pretty quick, so I might actually have time to do them on the video. All right, so I know it looks kind of funky, looks kind of weird. Don't be freaked out by him. He's just in transition as he's taking shape, this little elephant. So now I'm going to grab that yellow, add a touch of orange to it. There we go. All right, and then from here, I'm actually going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the elephant, and then we'll put some lighter highlights on top of it, and then even go back and adjust. And even as I'm putting that on there, I want more yellow. Again, do not be afraid to adjust your color after you apply a few strokes if you are inclined to. There we go. And again, I am just going right over those black lines, the marker lines from the beginning of the Traceable. And when you do this at home, if you are using the Traceable, you don't have to go back with the black outline. I actually just do that so you guys can see it easier on the video. All right, getting his little chin. And because these colors are transparent, it is okay if you kind of go over the darker colors with this yellowish orange. Those darker colors will still shine through because of the transparency of my paint. And when they overlap a little bit, it does give you the chance to blend them in a little bit. All right. Oh, cool. Hi, Kat. Hi, Sonia. Excellent. No worries, Tammy. Glad you could make it. And even though you don't have volume and you can't hear me saying hi to you, I still appreciate you showing up and checking this out. Thanks so much. And let's see, Sonia, I think you said you missed yesterday's. Don't worry. I actually had a technical issue, had a power surge, and I think the video stopped about halfway through, but I was able to recover and continue painting. Oh, you're a teacher. Awesome. So I don't know what grade you teach, Dershell. So feel free. You are more than welcome to use any of my YouTube videos if you need an art project for your class or if other teachers need that. And then you can even check out the online school. I've got all kinds of information. If any teacher really wants to use a lot of my videos, have them email me and I'll give them all the traceables for free that they can use in their class. I really started my online school as a response to so much art being cut out of schools. So I definitely want to make sure that teachers have access to utilize my courses if they need it. So just have them send me an email. All right, so we've got most of our elephant filled in, and we're actually going to go back and do a few other things, and definitely the black outline will help in the end. So we will be doing that. All right, so we're going to go for a yellow-white mixture for the little toenails in the bottom. And as we move into smaller spaces, you do want to definitely get in the habit of cleaning your brush. And when you clean your brush, it brings the bristles back together so you can make some smaller points. And then you'll be using light pressure as you get into smaller spaces. So you're using just kind of the tip of the brush. So this little bottom foot and the little toenails right there will be filling in with this yellow and white mixture. And since I'm going to do the outline, I just went right over those black little lines. All right, so now I'm actually just going to grab the straight white, and we're going to put a few more highlights on our little elephant. All right, so literally just going to slap it right on there and then blend it in. So I like to kind of throw that color on there and then wipe my brush off. And then you can go back in, and this white spot where we just put it, these are considered the highlights. And if your paint is starting to dry, you can go back to any of one of those colors that you might need to do a little bit of that blending. Again, the more that you paint, the more you're going to figure out your groove for blending, and it may be a little different than what I'm doing, and it may be different from what other people do. But find just your comfort level with the tools, with your brushes, and definitely be kind to yourself, because don't realize how much information your brain is taking in each time that you paint. And even if you don't like your painting at the end, you still learned so much and your brain took in so much information. And what you're doing is training your eye-hand coordination. You're observing what you see and then interpreting it and executing. And the more that you do that, the easier your brain and your body functions are to execute those movements, I guess, actions. So basically, just be kind to yourself. You're learning something new. Give yourself credit. You're doing better than you probably realize. And again, I'm just basically throwing some white in these different areas. And then really the stabbing method works well as your paint starts to dry a little bit more. And I might do the same thing as we get into with the shadows. I might go back and add a little bit more. So again, just mimic the place that you do see where I'm adding each color. And then if you want to learn more about your value scale, check out my Paint Your Pet course on my school, and I walk you through how to look at a photograph and recognize your dark spaces, your light spaces, and your midtones. And when you paint something that you love, like your pet, and most of my students love their pets way more than their family members, you get more out of it when you paint something that you enjoy. Nice, nice. So just looking over at the comments. Sonia, that's awesome that your daughter loves to draw and uses colored markers and pencils. That's awesome. Please keep encouraging that. And paint with her, maybe. Maybe you guys watch one of the videos and do this together. It's a great bonding experience, great memories, and just supports her creative endeavors. And if you do that, send me pictures. All right. Okay, ooh, so we still have to get the inside of his mouth. So we're gonna do a little bit of a pink tongue, and then we're gonna go a little bit darker for the roof of this little elephant's mouth. So to make your pink, and we'll start with the light pink first, add a little bit of, pull a little bit of your white aside. Tiny, tiny, tiny amount of red goes a long way to make your pink. So again, start out light, get to the shade of pink that you like, and then we're gonna fill in the little tongue space. And I'm gonna go a touch darker. There we go, and just fill it in that space and just treat your brush like a pencil. So that way you can just do tiny little dots, because as we do get into smaller spaces, it can become a little more frustrating. So try not to go there. So now I'm going to go even darker. Let's see, we're going to put that on the top. I may go even darker. No, this kind of works. And that's basically just the roof of his mouth. Awesome. Hi, Kat. Yeah, glad you definitely understand that the love we have for our pets. And thanks, Mike. Glad you enjoy and think this is a cute little elephant. I was actually quite excited to have this as a suggestion, and I believe tomorrow is a sloth. We've actually got a week of animals, and that excites me very much because landscapes are awesome, flowers are beautiful, but for some reason I thoroughly enjoy painting animals. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna go back to the darker shade before we move up to those little balloons. So I'm gonna go back to that purple and red mixture. I basically am just putting a second layer on there because I don't like some of the transparency that's happening right now. So I'm basically just making the same color. I won't be doing as much blending, but just basically trying to intensify that color a little bit so it's not so transparent. So if you need to skip this step, totally okay. Just hang out and you can wait till we get up to the balloons. There we go. So it didn't need too much. And sometimes when you do that, then you realize that maybe you need to go back to that middle color as well. So I'm going to go back to the yellow and the orange mixture. And that happens a lot in art, that you may add something and then it changes the way something else looks. And that is actually a big part of art. It's called color theory. We interpret the color based on the color next to it. So when you change something, it changes your interpretation about some other colors sometimes. It can be rather frustrating, especially when you're in the beginning stages of trying to figure out some of the color theory and what it means. But right now, the more that you can just kind of recognize how you look at stuff differently based on the changes, and that's why progress pictures when you paint are so important. When you go back and look at your progress photos, noticing how it looks different from each photo as you progress through your little slideshow. And you're just recognizing how you observe the world. Then as you observe more, go do some research and find out more about color therapy, color theory, and even just what the difference between a warm colors kind of pops forward and then the cool colors recede and are pushed back. All right, so let's move up to the balloons, and likely it looks like this is going to be dry enough that I should be able to do the black outlines during this little demo. So for our balloons, you can make them any color that you want. I'm going to stick with the primary colors, so I'll do red, yellow, and blue. But like I said, you can do whatever color you want for your balloons. So we're going to put the base on there. And if you are going over your background, just apply your paint pretty thick so you can cover up any of the blue or any of the other color that overlapped. Oh, nice. Hi, Rhonda. How's it going? Glad you could make one of these. Red. So I'm going to do red next. And it looks like I'm going to have to put more blue on my plate. And I forgot to mention today, if you're holding your breath, big inhale. Relax. It's going to be okay. If you find that you're shaky as you are touching the canvas, if you exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, you'll be a little less shaky. Let me add a little more blue to the plate. Oh, and I'm gonna have to add black too. A little more blue than I needed. Oh well. All right. And actually, I have a feeling that might be, oh, that's not too bad. Okay. I wasn't sure if this was going to be enough of a contrast from our blue background, so I was debating whether to make this purple or even green. But yeah, we'll stick with the primary colors. I think green would have actually looked really nice on here. So we could have had some Rasta balloons. All right, and this one I definitely applied a little thicker, and that will help with a little bit of the contrast. So I'm not quite sure if you can see at home, but the difference between that thin layer of blue and then that super dark layer of blue I just put on there. There are a few paint peaks on here, but with acrylic paint, it kind of flattens out as it dries with the student grade paint. Artist grade will keep the texture a little bit more. Okay, so let's see, let's put some black on the plate, and I think we should be able to, yeah, it's pretty dry. Go ahead and do the outline. So as you do the outline, you're basically redoing that whole black outline that I had at the beginning of the painting. Or if you purchase the Traceable, you can kind of reference that. But I do want you to practice with the brush, because you can either put your pinky out and put that somewhere and then use that as your pivot point, or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. So that way you're not trying to, hold your elbow up and just be kind of shaky. And then you want to play with the pressure, because again, that light pressure is going to create a skinny line, or more pressure is going to create a bit of a fatter line. So practice a little bit with your brush control before you jump on to painting the outline. And I'm going to actually do my best to keep this in the same orientation, but if you need to turn your canvas sideways, upside down, feel free to do that, to do what you need to do for the comfort level of where you're at. And I am using, like I said, just light pressure. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the view so you can see what I'm doing. Remember to breathe. And this skill gets way more comfortable with more practice. So be kind to yourself. And I do want this black outline overlapping your subject matter a little bit and overlapping your background. So just kind of that little bit of cleaning it up gives it a bit of that pop art feel and just looks really nice and crisp. And again, if you need to, if you find a lot of buildup on your brush, just wipe your brush off, grab some more paint, and then go back to what you were working on. And again, if you're finding that you're just super shaky, if you hum while you paint, or I've found that because I'm usually talking through all of these, it makes it a lot easier. But do what you need to do so that way you're not holding your breath. Oh, awesome. Anita's doing a purple balloon instead of blue. Nice, good switch. And thanks for painting along too. All right. Another alternative, if you are finding this really tough, especially because it's such a small line that you need to make, try moving down to using a toothpick or a paper clip. Basically just unfold the paper clip or use the edge of the toothpick. I've actually found quite a few of my students have had success with that. And again, it just kind of makes you slow down a little bit, and you don't have to worry about I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of, but the movement of the bristles. You don't have to worry about it as much with the toothpick or the paper clip. And I think I might even add some blades of grass too. This guy is turning out really cute. Oh, someone else actually, good suggestion, Madison, asked about the logo. I haven't done that yet, so I'll put that as one of the demos. And that may be one that I definitely would recommend the Traceable for, just for the lettering for the Paint with Lovejoy. But I've half been thinking about eventually getting t-shirts made up too. I have to wait till the budget's a little more friendly for that. All right, I did that all in the same direction, not bad. But like again, like I said, if you need to turn your canvas sideways because it's easier for you to move your hand in a particular direction as you're getting comfortable with your pressure of your brush and everything, feel free to do that. With shooting all these videos, I've actually had to train myself not to basically get on top of the painting. Otherwise, all you're going to see is the back of my head. So it is interesting how the things you do in life will show up and affect your creative process. All right, so let's move into these balloons. And that paint is still pretty wet. Oops. And then we're gonna put a few little highlights on the balloon as well. All right, and then we have those strings for the balloons. If again, and I could have mentioned this earlier, but I'd rather you do this with the brush, but if you find that still very intimidating and difficult, if you actually kept fairly flat paint, you could do this with a Sharpie marker after it's dry. Like I said, I do recommend the brush just because it is great practice, but I also want to give you other options too. Okay. Oh, I forgot the little eyeball. Hold on. And we're going to put a little catch light in the eyeball as well. Okay, so let's do a few blades of grass while we let that black dry for a touch. And yeah, we did go a little over 30 minutes. I've got another Humane Society demo coming up this Friday, so it'll be on their Facebook Live. And I have to keep it within 30 minutes. So that's what a lot of these daily demos have been, is just good practice for me to do these little paintings in a short amount of time. And let's see, for the Friday demo for the Humane Society, I will be painting a black and white kitten. We're going to be celebrating their kitten season. So for these blades of grass, I'm literally just, they're little dash marks, and I'm kind of starting where the grass would start and then flicking it up in the direction that the grass would grow. So these are overlapping each other, and they're overlapping my elephant as well. I'm going to do the same thing with yellow in a minute. And then if you want some blades of grass down here, and then you can do that same thing with the yellow. You don't even have to clean your brush because we do want this to mix a little bit. There you go, and you'll see that when it mixes and overlaps with that wet green paint, it creates that kind of spring green color. But if you find that this yellow still is too bold for you, you can mix that spring green and do the same effect. And when doing grass, it's actually very important to make sure you overlap your brush strokes to help it look a little more natural and grass-like. And as you are getting into the final stages of your painting, remember to get out of your chair, look at your painting from 5 to 10 feet away, assess, and go back and adjust anything that you need to. But viewing your painting from that distance is really important in the creative process because about 5 to 10 feet away from anything is generally the normal viewing distance that you're going to look and assess something. So learning to look at your artwork from that same perspective is just to your benefit. All right, so let's see. I missed a few questions, sorry. So let's see. Question was, do you recommend a stretched canvas or a flat one? Really, it's personal choice. I'm reusing my stretched canvases just because that's what I had. I actually prefer painting on the flat panels just because I can stack them a little bit more compared to the stretched ones. And I personally paint with a palette knife. And when you paint with a palette knife in my style and you're pushing, you have a little bit of a give to the canvas. And with the panel, you don't have that at all. So really your call, try both and just kind of figure out what you feel comfortable with. So hopefully that answered your question. Let's see. Want to know what is better to buy and reuse? Okay. You can do the gesso, the reusing on the panels and the stretched canvas, so it doesn't really matter. If you are giving a painting as a gift to somebody, don't use one of your reused canvases for that, because I actually do get kind of irritated depending on the painting, and probably this one. I don't necessarily like all that texture that shows up from reusing a canvas. So if you're giving it as a gift, do a little bit of an upgrade and, paint on a brand new canvas. But for practice, the reusing of the canvas is very beneficial, so that way you're not, filling your house up with a bunch of canvases, and you don't have to keep going to the store to buy more and more and more. So, okay, let's see, any more? Yep, small details make a huge difference. Fully agree. Ah, thanks, Mike. So if you want to buy this one, you totally can, or if anybody else wants to buy it. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'll paint over this guy. He is pretty cute. Okay, excellent. All right, so we have a few small catch lights and details to do, and that will bring us into the end or the conclusion of today's demo. But throw other questions up there and I'll hang out and answer those. So we're going to put a catch light on our balloons, and we're going to put a little catch light in the eye of our elephant. So, because I'm already pretty happy with our highlights here and then the dark shadows. So I don't feel like we need to add any catch lights there. All right, so for the little dot in the eyeball, you might want to switch over to your toothpick for this because it is pretty small. But you're literally just going in and kind of at the 11 o'clock spot. I got one extra little hair that's shooting out. There we go. And painting over that little white dot. And if this happens to you and you get one of those extra little hairs that shoots out from the tip of your brush, if you can't pull it out, just take some scissors and chop it off. But those little wild hairs can drive you crazy. All right, so not as big of a deal when we move into our balloons. All right, and literally it's just going to be a little dash. And all that's doing is giving an indication of where the light source is coming from. And if you're inclined, you can do a little bit of that on the strings. Totally optional, unnecessary. But yeah. All right, and then last little thing, if you are not repainting over your canvases, sign your artwork and pass it on to a friend or loved one. And it's nice that we are getting back into handmade gifts. All right, so it looks like no more questions, but I greatly, greatly appreciate you guys honoring me with your time and hanging out with me for a little bit while I do the demos, and also giving feedback, asking questions, letting me know what you want to paint in the future. So leave a comment if you've got a subject matter that you would like. If you'd like to see what I'm painting tomorrow and the rest of the week, jump to the main portion of my page and just scroll down to see the future live demos. And then, like I said, make a suggestion and I will add it to the list. So thanks again for hanging out. Look forward to painting with you tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a great day. Cheers.